Hi guys, this is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so, and if you get anything from my work. An epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore. Please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. AlleyCatCreations211.com is where you can find all the artwork that I create and make. Lots of pyramids, patriotic skulls, patriotic hearts. That was for Memorial Day. But I do so much more. So if you're interested in my artwork and you'd like to purchase, please email me. I do everything private. 3D is a tier as a membership on my channel. So channel members, Friday, we are raffling off this skull. 4th of July is coming around the corner. And you get a free entry into my raffles, and I give away not just that one skull. I do second and third place winners, so I draw what I want into my channel. But channel members do get things back, and I also do channel member only content, which is oracle card readings for the small collective. And I do a lot more cards than I would pull on Friday Night Lives. So please check out my memberships. It's a really great way to support me and this channel. I already had my cup of coffee at work. I had 2 coffees today. I try to limit myself. Hi, everybody. The Inner Radiance, Chapter 6, Man and the Zodiac, Part 2, The Constellations. And this shall be very interesting, to say the least. This book is mind-blowing, and I highly suggest supporting the Curtises, even though they're long gone in Transcension. Support their work. Quote, humanity and the stars are bound together indissolubly because of the intelligences that rule them. End quote. The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky. Quote, just as we imagine the coming into being of the material centers of power of the planets by contraction of matter around the center, so we may imagine the human body as having arisen by the condensing of the more etherical vehicles of the ego. End quote. Astrology, C, AQ, Libra. Quote, there is one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differeth from another star in glory. End quote. Corinthians 1. It is well in this chapter to answer the criticism of certain astronomers that students of astrology frequently seem to confuse the zodiacal signs with the constellations having the same name and use them as synonymous terms. Well, as a matter of fact, the constellations are neither equal in size as are the signs, nor do they coincide exactly with the 30 degree of each sign. On this account, the sun could not remain in each constellation the same length of time of passing through them as it does in each sign. Were the ancient Chaldean, later called Babylonian, understanding of astrology more widely known today, there would be less confusion in the use of such terms. But like all scientific subjects translated into foreign languages, unless the translator is also a student of the subject and thoroughly familiar with its technicalities and their mode of expression, many inaccuracies, misconceptions, and vague expressions are bound to occur and thus mislead those who study such translations. The Chaldeans, when speaking of the influence of the signs, referred to mystic potencies of the constellations contained in the signs, rather than to the physical or astronomical forces of the particular stars composing their constellations. That these characteristic influences were well known to the ancients and evidenced by the seemingly causal inquiry of Job. Quote, canst thou bind the sweet influence of the Pleiades or lose the bands of Orion? End quote. Pause. I read that all the time to people and ask them, actually, how did back then and anyone back in that time frame know about Pleiades and Orion? Isn't that really what it's called? Ancient Greeks? Just putting that one out there. That baffles me. Because why, how, who, what, where, when did it get their names? And what era? Because we still call them those same names today, don't we now? Who gave them the names? Off on another tangent, sorry. This teaching the Hebrews evidently got from the Chaldeans, for their reputed founder Abraham is represented as coming from Ur of the Chaldees. Therefore, since the constellations vary widely in size and in the number of brilliancy of the stars composing them, the 12 groups of stars comprising the zodiac cannot be divided into 12 equal parts, covering 30 degrees each, as are the signs, although the constellations do with some overlapping, fairly within the limits of the signs. Furthermore, in Chaldean astrology, as well as the more ancient wisdom religion, it was an axiom that the macrocosm, or the universe, and the microcosm, man, were epitomes, each of the other, one not being a copy of the other, but both being the result of the outshining of the divine dot in the center of their respective circles of manifestation. Hence, to know man, the ancients studied the constellations and their influences, and vice versa. To know the constellations, they studied man. For the various organs or viscera of man are but the counterpart in him of the constellations ruling the zodiacal signs, and the influence of the organs in man's body is similar to the influence of the corresponding constellations, organs or viscera, in the body of the heavenly man of the zodiac, and vice versa. Just as the stars of heaven are grouped in certain forms called constellations, grouped together because each group is the radiant or distributor of a characteristic force and performs a definite function in the universe quite different from the stars in other groups, the individual stars corresponding to the cells of the organ or group. So in the body of man, we find certain cells specialized in form and function, grouped into tissues and organs, which express a characteristic force and function. Each group, organ, or constellation of cells is necessary to the health, life, and perfect functioning of the body as a whole. Each organ is separate and distinct, yet they are correlate with and reinforce each other in perfect harmony, just as the constellations influence, sustain, and help to hold in mundane manifestation the body of the heavenly man, the cosmos. Scientists tells us that we must regard the body as a collective organism consisting of a huge colony of organisms becoming capable of common life by common and mutual arrangement and differentiation of function, and by toleration and utilization of each other's peculiar products. In this cooperating colony of organs, we find the heart as a central organ. And although the liver, lungs, brain, stomach, etc., are much larger in size and contain a vastly greater number of cells, nevertheless, the influence of the heart on the organism is far more important, For without its force and function, none of the other organs could live and carry on their functions, while many of the other organs may be removed and the body still live on after a fashion. Similarly, although the adrenal glands are very tiny organs resting upon the upper end of the kidneys, without the hormones which they elaborate and contribute to the bloodstream, the tonicity, yeah, that's one of those words, of the arteries, and therefore the circulation of the blood cannot be maintained. This shows that the importance of the organs does not depend upon their size. In fact, we see that this is a law of nature, for nothing is really great or of vital importance except as measured by the quality of the function it contributes to the welfare and evolution of a whole. So true. This is true as truth of the stars, in which the tiny group of Pleiades contain the heart center Alcyon, around which the whole cosmos revolves, and of society, in which we see the great masses of the ignorant and unevolved, led and guided, and we are sorry to say often wrongfully exploited by the enlightened few. Yet the few who lead in the various fields of the world's advanced science, industry, art, religion, etc., accomplish more for the advancement of the whole by their activities or functions in the body politic than do the combined activities of the great masses who are thus led. Nevertheless, all classes are needed, just as are all the organs of the body and all the constellations of heaven, each to perform its own function in its own place and manner, yet all cooperating with each other, the few to plan, lead, and direct, the mass to execute or manifest the plans for the good of all. Holy crap. True democracy and cooperation must therefore follow the pattern written by the hand of God, both in the stars and in the body of man. And only when the leaders of mankind awaken from their selfish aims to this fact and are willing to copy the divine plan can the nations truly cooperate and function together harmoniously and fulfill the angelic prophecy. On earth, peace, goodwill toward men. When we speak of organs in the body of society, we mean types of thought or ideals, or groups of persons who hold similar ideals, each individual finding his own work and most perfect expression within the organ or group to which his thoughts and ideals affinitize him. The physical sun is the heart of our solar system, and like the heart of man, it sends out a stream of divine one life, which it receives from the spiritual sun to all the members of our solar system. As it makes its yearly journey through the circle of the Zodiac, this stream of divine life force, the cosmic Christ force, both forces its force in the signs and constellations and also gathers up their specialized influences and cleanses them. Just as the blood in man, as it passes through each organ, both nourishes it and gathers up its products, eliminating or transmuting the destructive elements and utilizing the constructive forces, and radiating the latter to the circumference of the body and of the aura. The zodiac may therefore be likened to a gigantic switchboard upon which the 12 differentiated aspects of the Christ force, the one life, are forced, and through which these specialized aspects are radiated to the cosmos and to man. For man being the microcosm, has within him focal points through which the forces of the signs and constellations contact and influence him. The zodiac is divided into 12 signs because 12 is the number of the manifested universe. Since a circle contains 360 as a divine dot of God consciousness, focused physically in the sun, unfolds into a circle of divine light. It must be expressed in 12 divisions, for the divine Trinity, God, the Father, the Mother, and the Son, must manifest its threefold power in the material universe in each one of the four elements: earth, air, fire, water. 3 times 4 equals 12. Through which the Godhead must find material expression, thus showing that divine cannot manifest in matter completely except in a 12-fold manner. Therefore, when man has completely developed and expressed the Trinity, body, mind, and spirit, within his circle of manifestation, the microcosmic zodiac of his personality, or his balanced, all the microcosmic forces which he receives from the zodiac, and which he is destined someday to correlate and radiate in perfect equilibrium, he will have developed within him the 12 avenues through which the God within him will find complete manifestation, mastery. But at present, since each individual expresses but a part of the forces he receives, and that imperfectly, although he receives the forces from all the 12 signs, his aura is not a perfect sphere, and we speak of him as a Leo, a Taurus, or an Aquarian, etc., according to the predominant force he expresses, usually the force of the sign in which he is born, as revealed by his horoscope. But ultimately, each one must balance all the forces in himself during his many incarnations on earth. To do this, he must be born under the influence of each of the 12 signs until he learns their lessons and correlates with and balances their forces. This will require at least 12 incarnations in each sign. But when he has completed the cycle of 12 times 12, he becomes one of the mystical 144,000, who were the first because they have consciously striven and made definite efforts to advance faster than the slow stream of evolution of the masses, to be sealed with the seal of Christhood and become ready to be re-entered Eden, or the perfect spiritualized body out of which they were cast because of their mistakes when they descended into the cycle of material incarnation. But the great mass of mankind who make no conscious effort to advance may require several hundred incarnations in each sign, since most of us do not learn our lessons the first time we go over them, but over and over them many times before they are mastered. There can be no effect of spiritual force manifested in matter without, firstly, a radiant focal point or spiritual center of force, which being spiritual is invisible, and secondly, a visible circumference of matter as the limit of the circle of its radiation. This circumference will naturally divide into 12 regions corresponding to the 12 signs, because the 12 streams of force from the spiritual center must each find a focal point and register in a corresponding and suitable environment. The New Jerusalem, or sacred city, is therefore represented as having 12 gates, at each of which a sentinel stands to guard the portal, so that no thing unworthy or invincible to the safety, harmony, and peace of the city may enter. There are also 12 vital salts in the body, which, carried in the tissues and organs by the blood, are necessary to the health and functioning of the body. Just as the cosmic currents of force or blood of the cosmos carry the 12 influences of the zodiac through the body of the heavenly man, this cosmic stream of divine life force is called blood of the cosmic Christ, which both nourishes and cleanses, just as does its counterpart in man, the physical blood. It is to this spiritual blood, or Christ force, to which so many references are made in the New Testament, especially as to the power it to cleanse from sin. For only as we imbibe or are literally bathed in the stream of this radiant cosmic Christ blood can we be cleansed from our sins or impurities of the mind and body. We therefore seek the truth of the mystical injunction, except ye eat my flesh and drink my blood, there is no spiritual life in you. Although it is a most revolting and cannibalistic idea, if taken literally. Yes. Once again, in some movements, that is taken literally. And once again, if you perceive things from multiple angles and not just take the one that sounds the most freaktastic, you will get the bigger picture. Once again, I'm not saying not to take things literally or to take things fancifully, but this has been going around a lot of movements about the 144,000. What is it? Is it DNA? Is it this? It's all perception. And the ideas that spring from people are theirs to have. You have to align with what you personally heart integrate with. What feels good to your heart space? If you want to take it as a cannibalistic and literal fashion, that's for you to take. But if you look at the different perceptions, things get interesting. We are also told to feed on him in thy heart with faith and thanksgiving. Through a definite effort, understand what the blood of Christ is, and so let the understanding of the mystical divine presence within us give us the life that is one with all manifestations of life in ourselves and in the cosmos. Thus will this understanding feed and nourish our inner self, even as the blood of our body feeds and sustains the physical body and its functions. As we cannot accomplish all this at once, nor perhaps in one incarnation, although in some incarnation we must complete it as we feed or meditate upon the idea and seek to understand and assimilate it, we find the mind of our divine higher self radiating through and permeating more and more our lower human mind and consciousness. And since it is our higher mind that results of all experiences in all lives are stored up, as we correlate with the higher mind, we are enabled to go back in consciousness through past lives and gather stored up lessons of experiences of the past, much as the sun recedes backward through the constellations, through precession, and gathers up their forces. Thus do the great lords of karma bring about the adjustment of all conditions, both in the cosmos and in man. For they make man face conditions until he learns just wherein he has failed and how to start out a new cycle in the new age of cosmic unfoldment with new ideas and increased powers. This also accounts for apparently sudden changes in the mind of mankind at certain cyclic periods. Here we are now, we are doing it together. I know, I'm trying to jingle and I'm not jingling. Just so in the individual, as he comes into closer and closer union with the divine higher self, he is more and more washed in the blood of the Christ and enabled to take up the conditions of karma of the past with greater comprehension and greater power. Thus, work with the great law of karma to straighten out and adjust the legacy of the past in the life of the present. We're all kicking ourselves right now. I am. But since it is only through the consciousness of the higher self that the experiences of the past can be understood and utilized, let no one attempt to penetrate through the use of mere psychic powers the veil that is mercifully drawn over the past. For the knowledge so gained is usually misunderstood and misleading and often is disastrous. It is far better simply to rely upon the divine law to bring us that which is necessary day to day, knowing that when the time is ripe and it is best for us to know all things now hidden will be revealed. Oh, motherfucker. Chicken drop. Chicken buck buck. He fell on the floor, chicken bok bok. Um, I, as always, with their books and their I was probably a theosophist or a Blavatsky-esque person back in the day, maybe. Because this stuff really hits here. And it hits here only because of all the immense amounts of reading I have done and come to so many conclusions from different perceptions that collectively this is like gold for me. Might not be for you, and that's okay if it doesn't land here. Just have an open mind and objectively take the information in. I'm being channeled. So for those who are in the 13-month paradigm, it's not that it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the here and now moment because we need the 12 to bring in the Christ consciousness. Maybe after we ascend into 4D octave full, maybe 13 will make sense. And it's not because it doesn't exist. It's because in the now moment, for many of us, we're still on 12 because we need to finish out our cycles in 3D. So I think a lot of people were jumping the gun. I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's not for this paradigm and reality that in which we are living. Only because you signed a contract, you're here, you're having experience, and you're doing it from the Christ conscious point of view, which is 12. If the numbers math and the math maths. That's all I'll say about that. This was phenomenal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am being played with on YouTube. I know this for a fact. One day Freya will get like 4.3K views and the next day 74. Like it doesn't add up or make sense. And then a day or two later, like the numbers increase so I don't know what's going on with algorithms and all that nonsense. And not that that necessarily matters. I'm going to put them up anyway. It just helps me, keeps me fed. As I still haven't found out anything about any of the jobs I applied to, and my last day is Friday. So I am asking anybody out there that has like an artistic job or whatever have you, please help a child out of God here. I would love to teach art uh in person. Kind of hard to do here in Northwest Indiana when everything still requires a stupid piece of paper over experience. So I need some like-minded opportunities, people that can present them to me, art, spiritual stuff, whatever have you. I'm urged to say that. I don't know why. This is upstairs. So yeah, thank you guys for everything. Please go within. Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. I just blinked out 5 seconds ago. Please go within. Be the shoulder. Be the lighthouse. Seed your truths. Light that path forward. I hope to see you all in the next one. I will have a Friday Night Live, and that will be really fun because I'm doing a raffle. This scully guy right here, I gotta fix his bottom tonight. So yeah, please join us. It's a beautiful community of amazing people, non-judgmental. People are very they send healing energy. It's like a beautiful fest of love, of spiritual fun and open-mindedness. So don't be afraid, join our chat, join our community. And I say "our" because it's not just me. I'm a conduit of source. That's all. So until the next time, guys, thank you so much. Bye for now.